All right, Nick, let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks are going into a quarterback battle. There's between Geno Smith and Drew Lock. There's been a little back and forth, but there's someone's pulling ahead a little bit. Someone also has flashed a little bit. We'll get into that story a little bit later. But before we get into that story, I want the Seattle fans to let us know. As we say, NFL season is starting up. Preseason games are starting. But what else is right around the corner? End of August, college football season is starting. And I want Seattle fans to let us know in the comments, who's your team? Is it Washington? Is it Washington State? Eastern, Central, Southern, Northern, Southwestern Washington? There's only so many teams in Washington, so there's got to be someone like that. But let us know in the comments below, who is your favorite college team? But Nick, what do you have on these Seattle quarterbacks?
Yeah, so you and I have talked about it numerous times, the battle between Geno Smith and Drew Lock. And this is the part of the video where I say something about Geno Smith that Seattle fans then write mean comments below about how I don't know what I'm talking about because I don't think Geno Smith is that great. And I don't think he's that great, to be totally honest. But to give some credit to the Seahawks fans, have called me out. Geno Smith has so far done an excellent job in that quarterback battle. According to Touchdown Wire, Pete Carroll told the media that the veteran Smith is still leading that competition in Seattle. According to Carroll, Geno Smith continues to be on top. He's ahead. He's been in the lead for all the obvious reasons, and he's holding on to it and doing a really good job of battling. All right, so I thought Drew Lock coming in, he was kind of be the shiny new toy. He has all the physical tools. Maybe wasn't, given the right chances in Denver. I thought he would have come to Seattle and pretty much very, very quickly make up the ground between him and Geno Smith and slowly and quickly overtake Smith and be the quarterback going into the season for the Seattle Seahawks, because the Seahawks, they need clarity at the quarterback position because they need to know, is Drew Lock their guy, or do they have to go draft or free agency next year? Because, again, I'm going to get mean comments for this. Geno Smith is not your guy. Okay, he's been around the league a long time. He's not a long-term answer. He can be a nice backup. I'll give you that. He's a quality backup in spurts. He can do well. But in terms of long-term success, he is not your guy. And to that point, Drew Lock is actually gaining a little ground. According to Greg Bell, according to Bleacher Report, originally reported this, Lock was the better quarterback than Smith during a mock game this past Saturday, knowing the offense just did more with the former under center. According to Bell, Lock completed 19 of 26 passes and led 2 drives that ended in touchdowns and another that resulted in a field goal. By comparison, Smith only went 11 for 20 and directed 1 touchdown drive and 1 field goal drive. Granted, it's one practice, so I don't want to lose too much, dig too much into that. But you have to feel like that eventually Drew Lock will he has to, otherwise he just totally flames out of the NFL here, eventually catch up to Geno Smith. What do you think about this battle, Miles? What are your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting to me. One thing that you always hear from fans, and what we've heard a lot recently, is I feel like they're leaning on these older guys. Yeah, when I say this, I think about Geno Smith. I think about things we hear about Marcus Mariota. I think about things we hear about Mason Rudolph, guys who have been around. Tannehill, yes. All these guys who've been around for a while, and it's like you have the new guy. You got Drew Lock. You've got Mitch Trubisky, Desmond Ridder, Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis, and they've just come into this offense. And these guys have been around in these offensive schemes for a while. And it comes out early in camp, Geno Smith looking good. He's looking better than Drew Lock. Of course he is, because he's been in this scheme for like 3 years plus, and he knows it like the back of his hand. If Drew Lock would have came in early and it was like, oh, Drew Lock is outshining Geno Smith early on in camp, you'd have some very serious concerns about Geno Smith. So it's only natural that these guys come out and underperform in the beginning because they're still trying to learn the system. And then you hear these things. There's a slow progression. I think of Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett with the Steelers. Rudolph jumped out early in camp. Then Trubisky and Pickett over the next days and weeks progressively got better and better. And it sounds like Lock is getting a little bit better and better. And finally, this last practice or so, he seems to be progressing into this offense and learning it and being more comfortable in it. And I just don't understand how these guys, maybe someone will tell me in the comments below how, like you said, they're going to tell us how dumb we are and we don't know what we're talking about. But explain to me how a guy like Geno Smith has been around for so long. I mean, how can you have faith that he's going to turn it around now? I just don't see it. I am not saying that Drew Lock is the answer either. I don't know what he is, but you can't feel good. There's one of two ways you can go about this. You either love Lock or hate Geno Smith. And if you're I said that backwards. You either love Lock or you love Geno Smith or vice versa. But if you love Smith and, you don't like Lock, you can't feel too good about Geno Smith doing good because he's beating out Drew Lock.
Right. Yeah. I think it's more like I kind of alluded to earlier. It's not so much that Geno Smith, his lead in the quarterback one position right now isn't because he's a rock star. It's because Drew Lock has underperformed. And I think the biggest concern, if I'm a Seahawks fan, sort of long term, is that Drew Lock isn't your guy. Then that means this year is going to be really tough. I mean, this is a brutal division. There's no doubt about it. And there's a lot to like at the Seahawks roster. I think their defense is young, fast, exciting. They're going to be really good. I like a lot of their pieces. They're good at wide receiver. Metcalf's drama is resolved. So there's a lot of things to like. But if you don't have quarterback position good, you don't stand a chance, especially in division with Matt Stafford and Kyler Murray and Trey Lance, who by all accounts will probably be a good player. Certainly in that Shanahan offense seems to be very quarterback friendly. So if Geno Smith is your guy and Drew Lock fails to overcome him, that's not a good sign. That means Drew Lock definitely is flamed out of the NFL. He's not the long-term answer. It means this year is basically a punt, and then you're going into next year trying to draft a quarterback or sign someone in free agency. Again, I think Geno Smith is good enough as a backup in short-term bursts, and we saw that a little bit last year. But the course of a 17-game season, it gets a lot harder to be successful. And there's a big difference between being a nice backup and actually being a franchise quarterback. And that's what Geno Smith, that difference is what defines Geno Smith's career. Nice backup, don't want him to be your franchise quarterback. And the Seahawks fans, he's not your franchise quarterback.
All right, Nick, it's time to get your internet privacy back today on every device you own in any country you want. Don't let anyone but you control your internet. NordVPN keeps you safe from prying eyes wherever you go online with their military-grade encryption. Is your favorite Netflix or streaming content blocked in the US? You can simply connect to one of the many countries available with NordVPN and get the access you need.
That's right, Maya. So right now, get our exclusive NordVPN deal here at nordvpn.com/SMI. It's risk-free now with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. Again, get that exclusive deal, nordvpn.com/SMI.